The film starts with outlines of a youthful man named Christopher Robin strolling through the 100 section of Landwood when he came over a bunch of bizarre pre-adult animals who showed up to be half-human. In spite of their threatening appearances, the naive, youthful Christopher overlooked the threats and gotten to know them all. They presented themselves as Eeyore, Owl, Rabbit, Piglet, and most critically, Winnie the Pooh. The youthful Christopher started to bring them nourishment, and with each passing day together, their bond developed more grounded. The animals began acting more human-like, indeed depending on Chris to bring them nourishment. After a long time of fellowship, it was awful for the animals when Christopher developed up and had to take off his companions to go to college to gotten to be a specialist, so he halted going to. Without Christopher around to nourish or direct them, and with the entry of winter, the animals went into extraordinary starvation, and in a rage to outlive, the gather had to devour one of their clay, Eeyore. This traumatized them so much that they created a contempt for humankind, especially towards Christopher for abandoning them. They promised to forsake their humankind, return to their wild instinctual, and be for all time quiet. We move to 5 a long time afterward. Christopher returns to the 100 section of Landwood to rejoin with his ancient companions. He's went with by his fiancée, Mary, and whereas driving Mary into the timberland, Christopher inquires her whether she accepts within the stories of his talking creature companions. Mary casts him a thoughtful sea and concedes that she doesn't very accept his stories, and she names his creature companions as a work of creative energy. Chris and Mary come over the creature's put and finds the put in a destroy state. A really startled Mary tells Chris that they ought to take off, but Chris guarantees her that his companions aren't a danger. As they walk around, Mary sees a cranium, whereas Chris pays no consideration to Eeyore's grave. Together, the two walk up to Chris's ancient house with the animals and make their way interior. Mary spots a demolished drawing of Chris, which makes Chris question the childhood companions he once had. All of a sudden, a voice cautions them. The two rapidly stow away until the night creeps in. Mary and Chris discover the animal wheezing on the bed, so the two utilize this opportunity and jolt straight for the entryway. Shockingly, Piglet makes her astonished entrance by wrapping a metallic chain around Mary's neck. Seeing his future spouse dead, Chris runs into covering up. Chris abruptly sees Pooh drawing nearer him, and so he tries to remind Pooh of their childhood days together. Before long, Piglet shows up from the other side, catching Chris between him and Pooh. Presently, Chris knows that his companions aren't the same as they're utilized to be, and like numerous others, he never showed up from the woods once more. News of puzzling vanishings within the timberland circulates around like rapidly spreading fire, and columnists caution individuals to remain as distant absent as conceivable from 100-acre woods. Afterward, within the motion picture, we are presented to an unused character, Maria, who is exhorted by her specialist to disengage from the active world around her. After taking the expert's counsel into thought, Maria and her companions decide to go on a withdrawal within the woods. But small do they know, the cabin they select for a withdrawal is found in an appalling put to remain, the 100 section of Landwood. The bunch of college understudies is amazed when they arrive at the fantastic bungalow, particularly since it features a pool. Upon entering the estate, Jessica inquires her companions to hand their phones to her, as utilizing versatile phones will demolish the reason of the withdrawal. The young ladies at that point talk about how one of their companions, Tina, never shows up on time or trench the arranged final diminutive. In the interim, Tina stops the car before the 100 section of Landwood sign and rings her friends for headings. When she gets no reaction from them, Tina steps into the woods, and after that, all of a sudden, Winnie the Pooh rises, causing Tina to quickly run towards an surrendered carport. When the coast is evident, Tina comes out of her stowing away put. But when she turns around, she shouts in horror as the deadly bear gets her and bashes her head numerous times against the wood chipper. Pooh slaughters Tina by mangling her body and mincing her within the wood chipper. Back at the estate, after settling in, Maria opens up to her companions around her experience with a debased stalker and how the occasion scarred her for life. Her companions supportively grin at her when Maria uncovers that she finds herself feeling a parcel way better. In the interim at Pooh's refuge, we discover Christopher tied to a ceiling, reminding Pooh of the excellent childhood days. For a minute, Pooh stops and reviews how youthful Christopher called him best companion and guaranteed to never take off him. Pity washes over him, which rapidly turns into outrage. Pooh gets a lash and whips Christopher's back for his disloyalty. To harm him in courage, Pooh places Mary's cranium before Christopher, causing him to cry out in profound anguish. In the interim, Lara, who couldn't stand to be without her phone, stealthily takes it back. Afterward that evening, the psycho Pooh is strolling within the center of the woods when he listens the sound of boisterous music coming from the girls' cabin. At the same time, Lara appreciates herself in a jacuzzi tub, whereas taking selfies for the simps on her Instagram. After taking different pictures of herself, she swipes through them, when abruptly her consideration shifts towards a figure standing within the foundation. She at that point gets out of the tub to seek for the distort, but finds nothing. Considering it's just a trick from her companions, she thoughtlessly gets back within the jacuzzi. While proceeding to appreciate herself within the tub, Lara doesn't realize that Pooh and Piglet are noiselessly barging in. When Lara wakes up, she sees that she is tied up, and Piglet is right beside her, and Pooh making the car's engine go vroom. She pleads desperately to stay alive, but Piglet allows Pooh to crush her head. Mia quickly go to see what happened to their friend after hearing Lara's scream. Jessica ran outside and saw that the car door was completely open. She then discovered Lara's head crushed. Scared, terrified scared to the point where they can't think clearly. The girls walk together and see a red message on their glass doors, doors made of glass material. At that moment, they heard a noise of breaking glass from far away. It made the girls realize that someone unwanted had entered. They go to find out where the noise is coming from, and they find Pooh outside. The girls are scared, holding a big knife tightly. Pooh goes around the cottage, and when he turns off the electricity, Zoe and Alice choose to leave. In the kitchen, they prepare to defend themselves, and Maria thinks that the intruder is the person who follows her. Zoe and Alice come back and tell her that the person who entered is not the person who has been following her. As searching through their bags for the gun, they hear a noise outside. When they went to get it, the four of them accidentally split up into two groups of two. Zoe and Alice have managed to reach the pool inside the house to close it. A back door is another entrance or exit that is hidden or less visible compared to the main entrance. But if something were to happen, Zoe tells Alice to run. An appearance, it quickly knocks Alice out. He tried to hit Alice with his hammer, but Zoe was able to distract Piglet and make him look elsewhere. Give the text to her. He leaps into the water, swinging his hammer at Zoe to attack her. Alice wakes up and sees Piglet hurting her friend, which makes her very upset and scared. She might pass out again. Soon, Jessica and Maria find the awful sight of Zoe's lifeless body floating in the pool. Watch in fear as they witness Piglet and Pooh carrying Alice, bringing Alice along. Afterward, we discovered that Alice was tied up with a rope at the place where the devils live. Meanwhile, Winnie the Psycho was there too. Pooh is eating fresh honey from the pot. When Winnie notices that Alice is awake once more, he goes over to her and does something. Later, when Jessica and Maria see that there is no one around, they quickly go to help. Alice is behaving inappropriately or doing something she shouldn't be doing. Maria and her friends are leaving when they suddenly hear a very loud scream. So, smart Maria tells Jessica and Alice that they should not leave anyone behind. In the old run-down house, they see Christopher hanging from a hook. Maria walks slowly towards Chris, who suddenly wakes up and sits upright. Maria is asked for help, so Maria and the girls start untying the rope right away. Move quickly towards the sound. Please assist the lady. The girls investigate where the really loud and sad screams are coming from and discover a woman who is seriously hurt, held down with ropes. When Jessica asks the woman who hurt her, the woman says it was Pooh and Piglet. She says that the pig and the bear can speak, but not very well. They like to work quietly. After freeing the woman from the chains, the girls assist her in getting away. However, as they step outside, the woman sees a structure that has mirrors on it, and she lets out a loud cry. She was really scared when she saw her face with lots of scars. The girls are attempting to prevent her from yelling loudly, and then the woman grabs the gun from Maria, hurt her loved ones. She plans to make the story more extensive by seeking vengeance on the monsters who caused harm to her family and friends. She did this to her. Jessica, Maria, and Alice are running away because they are really scared and worried about their safety. Finally, Piglet the monster arrives and agrees to a one-on-one challenge without any rules. The second time she aims her weapon at him while saying that he made her become a terrible person. He agrees to give money, to realize that the attacker is much closer now, for her to accidentally run into Pooh. After he made the woman fall to the ground, Pooh puts honey on her face. Then, Piglet sits down to eat her food, escape. Alice grabs the hammer and makes a swift dash for the exit. Hurt. After Alice went away, Maria and Jessica go into the forest and Pooh follows them. Meanwhile, Alice has caught Piglet. She jolts the monster awake by hitting him and promises to make him suffer the consequences for the wrongdoings he has committed. Sadly, Alice hits Piglet with a hammer. Then, Pooh attacks Alice and ends up causing her death. He hit her with his big knife. The bear keeps running after more blood. After some time of running, Maria and Jessica see a car coming towards them. A group of country people come out of the car, so the girls tell them everything, making the men question if they are drunk or not. However, the men are very interested in Pooh and want to find and catch the strange thing. Jessica and Maria hide in the car and try to tell the men about something, but the men ignore them, to what they are saying as a precaution. 4 men come close to Pooh with weapons, and once they surround him, Logan hits him with a strong force, on the front of the head. But when they see that Pooh is still the same, Logan tells his friends to attack together. Pooh is still strong, and it is very scary for them. He has had enough, and now it's his turn to get rid of them. Maria sees Pooh moving closer to the car, so she starts the car and accidentally hits him. After Maria accidentally bumps her head on the steering wheel, she is unable to do anything as she sees Pooh pulling Jessica along. Get out of the car. Seconds later, he shows her Jessica's decapitated head. Panicked, Maria tries to keep Pooh away from her, but at the end, he overpowers her. But just as Pooh is about to kill her with his knife, luckily, Christopher comes from behind and rams his car into Pooh, saving Maria. When Chris finds Pooh trapped between the cars, he rushes out to help Maria. But as he's helping the girl get back on her feet, Pooh regains consciousness. I fed. He pushes aside the car and picks up his knife. The beast then grabs Maria by the hair, and Chris once again pleads with him to stop his bloody revenge. He further tells Pooh to spare her, promising to permanently stay in the 100-acre wood with him in return. Hearing this, Pooh slowly lowers his knife at first, but then breaks his silence to tell Christopher. He proceeds to slash Maria's throat. After watching her die in his arms, a traumatized Christopher realizes his former friend is now beyond help and watches Pooh repeatedly stab her corpse. The film ends as Chris runs off in the woods, raising the specter of future terror from Pooh.